Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show we're talking about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Roswell, New Mexico. A great episode. A lot of stuff went down in this episode, so let's break it down. We basically get obviously we saw a lot of glimpses of this earlier with Max. We got this, when Liz was inside of his head, memories of Rosa. We got little bits and pieces of everything, but now we kind of got full context of everything. Essentially, we end up learning, just kind of in like a short over the course. It wasn't just a slow immediate. It wasn't an immediate thing. It was a slow burn before everything basically led to the day that Rosa died. Because for Rosa, it's like things weren't working at home, just because a lot of stuff. It's like Liz is going to be leaving soon. Their mom flaked a lot. She was just in her own addicted situation, drinking and not being there. Their dad, it was just all a little overbearing for her. She didn't really have anyone she could be close to. But it turns out the person she was close to was Isabel. But it turns out Isabel wasn't necessarily Isabel, because she's Ophiuchus 1 minute, and that whole I don't know if they ever went into the whole star constellation thing of is it the man hunting the serpent, the snake, or the snake hunting the man. It's like you don't know where the man begins and the snake ends, essentially. So but it turns out that years ago prior, they were out together, all three, Michael, Max, and Isabel, and that guy just attacked them. I guess just some crazy dude ended up attacking them, and Max inadvertently ended up killing him, but the trauma triggered something in Isabel. I'm assuming it's a byproduct of her power, because her power is all about getting inside of people's mind. Maybe in that moment, she panicked, and she kind of had a PTSD moment where her brain, her power kicked in, and she kind of went into her own brain, and it shattered her psyche in some shape or form. Maybe it's something that's always there, because once again, they don't know much about themselves, and it's maybe that's what that whole situation is. With her specific ability, maybe that's what happens to their people, or it's just, like I said, maybe it's just the trauma that triggered that, adverse reaction of her abilities. But ever since then, she became two separate people. She'd black out every once in a while, but as time went on, it got worse, because a lot of stuff in her life was kind of falling apart. Michael was, going to be leaving, and so was Max, and that triggered that because that fear of being alone kind of reactivated that PTSD, and so she literally developed a whole nother personality who wasn't aware of the other. Because anytime Isabel was around Rosa, she'd be like, because Rosa's like, oh, you're going to go to that thing? It's like, no. Almost like, why would I talk to you, loser? And now we understand why Rosa was so pissed at Isabel, because every time it's her and Isabel would get close. And I couldn't tell. It seemed like it might be, I thought maybe there was something more than just friendship there. It seemed like there is, especially in this episode. But that's what it all stemmed from, and that's why Rosa took everything so hard, because it's just she thought the one person she could count on was Isabel, but Isabel constantly flaked, obviously not knowing that she was a different person every time. But Isabel was like, oh, let's run away together. Once again, Rosa's dealing with everything. Because the sad thing is, she was trying to stay clean to the point the two girls that ended up dying, they ended up blaming Rosa, being like, oh, you didn't get us drugs, you should have hooked us up with drugs and stuff, riding on the car, calling her a crackhead, telling her to go back to Mexico. It's like, Jesus, you guys are pieces of shit. But then the fact is, Rosa trying to cover it up, not letting Liz see that, because Liz already got enough to worry about. I can't add more to it. And so to prevent her from finding out, she's like, no, I'm gonna take the car. And then Liz lashes out at her, calling her selfish, being like, you're just like mom. And to them, it's that's the ultimate negative thing you can say. She's like, I'm not like mom, I'm here. Because Liz, in the old messed up situation that she's in, is the whole thing of when things weren't working at prom, she kind of had a rough day and everything, she still wanted her mom there, despite everything, knowing that her mom would show up drunk and be selfish. But the fact is, in that moment, she still hasn't reached a point where it's I think everyone has those moments where it's no matter how quote unquote grown up you are, you're always going to want your parent around to be there to help you, to be that shoulder that you can cry on, to help you through anything, so luckily Max was that for her at that time, because Kyle, being the dick that he was, we saw the way he treated Alex, and Alex being like, go ahead and say what you just called me. Oh, you want to say this and that, you want to make jokes. So oh, I like tacos, you like hot dogs. Oh, we just have different tastes. It's yeah, but you won't say what you said to me in front of Liz. It's like you're a different person around her than you are your friends. You're a coward. So, and it's kind of sad because it's like, unbeknownst to Isabel, like everyone had to put their lives on pause because of her. Like the fact is, Max was going to, like, you know, things between him and Liz were a good place, but it's like, she's like, I don't want to kiss you because I want to go out and see the world, but if I kiss you, I'm not going to want to leave. And the fact is, you know, I don't want, you know, to change who I am, just, you know, for a guy, you know, change all my goals and plans. But then Max was like, then I'll be the guy that changes for you, so that, you know, I changed. I've always wanted to be the guy that changed so, you know, we could be together, see the world together, you know, but that fell apart. Then, like, the whole Michael and Alex thing happened. And it was like, oh, like, so you kind of saw the slow process of them getting closer and everything. Even that sad thing of, like, you know, Michael's always kind of had anger issues just because of, you know, his home life and everything. For him, playing music was the only thing that kind of made him kind of, you know, it gave him a little bit of escapism so he wouldn't have to be himself. And, you know, I think being with Alex was the first time, because he even said it, it's like, oh, he had done it before, obviously never with a guy, but also never with someone that he liked. So I think that speaks volumes of just kind of like, I think for Michael, he just kind of passed, like, he never really got very close to other people. The only person he ever really got close to was, you know, obviously Isabel and Max. So I think that's what holds significance for him with Alex, is like Alex was that person he first fell for, you know? But then that situation with his dad, Jesus, you thought his dad was a piece of shit before he literally stepped it up. It's like, oh yeah, that's why Michael's hand is broken, because he literally broke it with a hammer. It's like, Jesus, like, what the hell his issue is? It's just because you're, like, I mean, seriously? You were threatening, got your hands wrapped around your son's throat. It's like, holy crap. Because it's like, you doing whatever you're doing is bad representation. I mean, it's like, why is he such an asshole about his son being gay? Why is it that big of a fucking deal to him? I can't fathom it. It's like, holy crap. No wonder Alex did all that he did, because, like, for him, it's like, for one, probably joining the military was a way to get away from his dad in some shape or form, you know, at least for some time period. But at least that way, I guess also in his own mind, maybe it was almost going to be like a situation of like, maybe if I join the army, I can work the gay away or something like that, which is this fucking sad thought to have. You know, it's like, I think maybe on some level he thought like, maybe if I can just get away, it might have mainly been about his dad, but maybe it was sadly also about, like, maybe he thought there was something wrong side of him that was wrong just because of his dad's reaction, you know? So just everything kind of imploded all at once. And like I said, it wasn't just like a small thing. It was just kind of all at once. And we kind of find out, like, the reason why Isabel went after the two girls, unbeknownst to everyone else, is because Rosa was pissed at them. And it's just because, like, Rosa already had all that to deal with. She couldn't deal with Isabel. So it's like, no, I get rid of them. Rosa and me can be together. That's what it was for her. So that's why she killed the girls. But Rosa found that situation, or at very least, I guess Isabel might have taken her out there to show her. But Rosa was like, no, what are you doing? I don't know. She probably didn't show her powers and stuff like that, but it does beg the question, like, how she killed him. I mean, we didn't see any weapons around, but I wonder if she just do it with her bare hands. I mean, we see she kind of did it to Rosa, but to be fair, maybe because of her other personality, maybe her power shifts to another point. I mean, Max's ability has a dual side to it. He can bring people back to life, and he can kill them. That's how he actually first found out about the deadly side of his power. Because at that time, when he was younger, back in like 2004, he didn't know, you know, he could make a little electricity, like, you know, make powers kind of short out and stuff like that, but he didn't know what he was truly capable of until that day that guy attacked him, and that kind of set everything in motion on many different levels. By the time Michael shows up, Isabel's already killed the other two, and it killed Rosa because Rosa couldn't be trusted, because the fact is, I guess she was going to turn on, because I think, you know, just like Rosa thought Isabel was the only person she could rely on, I think Isabel's other side kind of thought that same thing. Like, that, I think that side of her, the side of her that didn't want to be alone anymore, wanted to be accepted, wanted to have someone always be there, that side of her always needing something, you needing someone, that codependent side of her, I think, which is so interesting considering the fact that she has that side of her as well as the regular Isabel side of things, who ended up, you know, getting married and everything and having this life. It's so crazy to think that this happened. Because they were even suggesting that, like, oh, just live your life. But for her, it's like she couldn't even fathom living one, because it's like, oh, you guys are just going to abandon me. It's like, we're not abandoning you. We're just living our lives. And And it's sad too because Michael and Max blame themselves because it's like, we didn't see the signs there. The fact of the matter is, this is all on us. It's our fault because we didn't protect her. We weren't there for her. So they covered up this crime to be here for her now. And Isabel snapping to it and then going back to herself, being like, what's going on? Michael was the one who started the lie by being like, I just got drunk. I ended up snapping and my powers, I lost control of my powers and ended up killing them. And Isabel's even the one that was suggesting that they go further than just crashing the car, I guess, to get rid of any trace evidence that would have led back to them. And it's like, that one decision caused, ripples that they never saw coming. Like, now we got more context, even more context of why Michael and Max have such issues, because it's like being around each other. Because as we even saw in this, they were so close. I think Isabel had brought that up earlier in the season, how close they used to be, but Isabel never knew the true weight of the secret that they were keeping. Because she knew, like, that day, but she didn't realize how much of an effect it had on them. Because it was like, because protecting her sister is one thing, but being around each other was just a reminder of what they had did. And it's just kind of like, if it meant protecting their sister from, herself and the knowledge of what she did, then... Because they know at the end of the day it wasn't her. And that's the complicated issue. Liz is obviously pissed. And she has 100% the right to be. Because it's like, everyone in town for the past 10 years has been berating their family. Calling them, out for like Rosa being the reason why all those girls died and everything. And it's sad. Like, it's like this lie that's been perpetuated. It's like, you sacrificed my sister to save yours. I mean, because, and it's also interesting too, because it kind of goes back to what I thought that up earlier in the series. Like, it had to be connected to Rosa, the reason why Max resurrected Liz, because she was the first person he'd ever done that to, because he tried to do it to Rosa, and it's like, no, I can't have another one of these siblings' blood on my hands. I wasn't able to save Rosa. I figured that much early on, just like the reason why he went out of his way to save Liz, also because he loved her, but mainly also because of that too. It's like, I can't have another person be dead because of me. It's like, it's sad because there's blood on all their hands. The only person who hasn't killed anyone yet is Michael. But the fact of the matter is, the way things are going, Max has already killed someone. He's been pushed to the point that he was potentially going to kill someone. It's interesting because now we think about it in retrospect. When he resurrected Liz, it did something to him. It awakened some darkness in him. So it does seem like their powers do have like a dual side of, I guess, if you use them. Because we do know that Michael has anger issues. Like, he talked about that ever since he was younger. So that might be the dual side to his. Like, each one of their powers has a tendency to kind of awaken something in them. And Isabel's literally manifested itself as a whole other personality, it seems like. Once again, I guess it is the basis of their powers. And it kind of has some huge drawback and toll that it puts on them. Like Isabel, like I said, it kind of fractured her psyche with her powers. It kind of make it the way they are. And I guess, like, saving a life kind of corrupts Max, at least for a time being. And I guess it's like this buildup of negative energy from resurrecting someone. And unless he releases that negative energy, it's going to stay inside of him, kind of like it did with Isabel. And like I said, Michael's always kind of dealt with anger issues. But it seemed like there were things kind of used to quell it. But I guess, things being so bad these past 10 years between all of them, like obviously him and Max not wanting to be around each other, it kind of broke their family. And it's kind of sad because Liz's family's broken too, to the point like Max is like, well, Liz is like, she doesn't ever want to see Max again, and it sucks because it's like he loves her, but it's at the same time it's like, you love me, yet you did this to my family, you hurt us like this. It's like, I wanted to tell you the truth, but you were leaving. But which is interesting, I'm assuming that ties into Isabel trying to get her to just leave so that Max doesn't go, because I guess in her mind it's like, well, Michael's struggling with all of this, I can't let Max go, because she didn't want to let him go, but also probably might have been using the whole Michael situation as a, no, we have to stick together. So like I said, it's sad that things kind of played out that way. Because when you look at it, it is that situation of once again, and it's something that's been brought up before, is like all these different missteps. If things were taken in a different direction, who knows where things would be right now. Like if Max had taken Rosa somewhere else, she was drunk at the time, she took that letter from Max that he was leaving from Liz. I wonder if, because the thing is, like, because I was about to say maybe the other Isabel used her powers on Liz just because she heard Rosa talking about Liz leaving, but then it's like Isabel remembers using her powers on her, so obviously it was her and not the other Isabel that did it, So I don't know. Because at what point, other than like keeping Max there potentially for Michael's sake, like I was saying earlier, that seems like the only reason Isabel would, you know, get Liz to leave and go, you know. But for Isabel, it's like the fact is I'm blacking out again must mean that this whole situation is going to come back again. And it's also a situation of if me and Max have done this terrible thing, that means maybe it runs in our DNA. What were we sent here for? Were we sent here to hurt people? And it's like, that's not what I want. The fact is for her, she wants the truth to come out. So I think Isabel is going to turn herself in, clearing Rosa's name. But, you know, after all these years and just the complicated nature of that, it's going to be interesting because obviously this is probably going to set a lot of stuff in motion because it's like, well, we already know the whole Maines and Cam situation. And then obviously Cam has picked up a little bit, not everything, but remember she saw the junction boxes or whatever that Max had, you know, used his powers on to kind of get the power back up at the hospital and everything. So she's probably piecing 2 and 2 together. Then there's also like the Kyle and Liz situation, which is so interesting because obviously Kyle and Liz fell apart in the past. And, you know, her and Max grew closer, but now it's like as she's pushing further away from Max, the closer she's getting with Kyle. So it's a whole thing. So I think in the long run, I was just thinking about this too. It's lucky that Rosa never told, you know, Isabel about Kyle's dad being the one that was helping. Because she's like, oh, there's an older dude that's more like a father figure that's helping me get sober. It's like, maybe Isabel might have killed him just because, like, oh, you're helping Rosa, but it's like, no, I want to be the one that... Well, it's, like I said, it just seemed more like I'm getting rid of anyone that will potentially hurt her in any shape or form, you know? It's like, you know, because in Isabel's mind, I think, in her fractured mind, it's like, I love you and I'm willing to do whatever it takes for you. Like I said, I don't know. It seemed like it was more than a friendship thing, but maybe it was simply just a friend that, like, she felt like, you know, like I said, she had a codependent nature at the time, so... That is a lot to process, you know. I'm very interested to see, like I said, where all this is going to take us going forward into the next episode. This is a lot that everyone has to digest, you know. Is it even Isabel? I mean, literally, her marriage is kind of falling apart right now with the whole Noah situation, and now this knowledge. It's a lot to handle, and, you know, obviously, Liz is obviously taking it pretty damn hard, too. And like I said, I'm most curious what she's going to do in the end. She knows the truth now, and it's not like the truth made things any better, but it's still better to know the truth. And, you know, what does this mean for her and Max? There's probably like a no more her and Max. Once again, we will just have to wait and see how everything ends up going down. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.